is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are going to be diving into some NFL trade rumors for the Detroit Lions. And today, we have a player that reportedly the Detroit Lions have on the trade block. That is Marvin Jones Jr. Should the Lions make the trade?
I don't think so.
Uh-oh. Let's get it started.
You know, I got to shout out DoseOfDion, man, because it was actually the first time I went live on YouTube. And, you know, guys don't know, DoseOfDion, he put out a lot of good content for the Detroit Lions.
Welcome everybody to another video. Glad you guys are here. And yes, we are diving into these trade rumor talks. Okay, now obviously, like I said, it's the trade rumor. Doesn't mean anything's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen, but I will give you guys my opinion on what the Lions should and should not do. But at the end of the day, I don't make the decision. So whatever the Lions do, they do, and we'll just have to keep an eye out on it. But in today's video, we're going to talk about Marvin Jones Jr. Now, we've already done a video on Jared Davis. Haven't really talked too much about Kerryon, even though he's technically on the trade block. But the thing is, Kerryon Johnson, you know, once we hear a rumor about him, I don't know if anybody's interested in Kerryon. If we hear a rumor about him or something, we'll talk about it. That one also wouldn't shock me too much. But I don't know if anybody's honestly interested in Kerryon Johnson looking at how small his role be. I mean, he is a young player, though, so maybe they are. I don't know. If we hear any rumors about Kerryon, which I haven't heard yet, then we'll talk about it. We just haven't heard any. But Marvin Jones Jr., in the last, I would say, like 12 hours, has been a very exciting name in the NFL trade world. The reason why is because he's arguably the best receiver that is being out there. Maybe aside from Adam Thielen, who it looks like the Vikings could be shopping because they're shopping basically everybody at this point. But Marvin Jones Jr. is one of the top receivers that are available. And there's already teams that are reportedly interested in trading for Marvin Jones Jr. Those teams include the Saints, the Browns, and the Patriots. The Saints, they could always use weapons. They would love to give Drew Brees another weapon, and they look like playoff contenders. You know, you look at the team like the Browns, they're 5-2, and, you know, we'll see how the rest of their season finishes. But they just lost Odell Beckham Jr. to an ACL injury, so it makes sense for them to look for a top receiver to go with Jarvis. And then when you finally look at the Patriots, they don't have any weapons, right? They can't score. I mean, you watch, they just can't put up points. So they surely want somebody. They traded for Mohamed Sanu. That didn't work out. So they would love to have somebody, and we know what Marvin Jones Jr. can do. Now, I first hear this trade idea, and I'm thinking to myself, no. Bob Quinn, do not do this. Now, I'm confused when I first see this as well, because while I don't want the Lions to do this, I'm also confused to the point as, why would you do this? I'm thinking, let's put our feet in Bob Quinn's shoes for a second real quick, all right? Let's get in Bob Quinn's shoes. Unless Sheila Ford and the Lions, top office said, hey, look, Bob, you might be part of the future. There's a good chance you're part of our future. I don't know about Matt Patricia, but there's a good chance you are. So if you're looking at this and you're saying, okay, you want to sell or whatever, then you can make this move. Aside from that weird conversation that could somehow happen, which I don't think has, why would you trade away one of your top receivers? Like, what does that do? Now, I know Marvin is not your number one, and this isn't the exact same as the Golden Tate situation, but it's similar. We can't find any stats to say, all right, here's what the Lions look like with and without Marvin Jones, because the years that, we've had Marvin Jones last season, Matthew Stafford wasn't healthy for half the last season. So when Marvin wasn't there with injuries, we didn't get to see it, right? So we just saw Stafford with Marvin. This year, we've just seen Stafford with Marvin. 2017, the offense was just a mess in general. So I can't even really compare that, because I want to see how big of a difference this offense is with and without Marvin Jones Jr. It's just hard to find that. And plus, Golladay has just emerged in the last couple of years. So it's really hard to figure out those stats. Now, I'm saying I know Kenny Golladay is our number one receiver, but what doesn't show up on the stat sheet is how much respect you have to give to Marvin Jones Jr. when he's on the field. You have to respect Marvin Jones Jr. everywhere on the field as a defense, because if you don't, he will beat you one-on-one. We've seen it. Marvin can beat you one-on-one. I mean, this guy can take a one-on-one matchup. So all of a sudden, if you start, okay, we don't really care about Marvin, we're going to focus on Golladay, Marvin's going to have a big day. Same kind of thing where now if you take Marvin Jones Jr. out of the equation, defense are just going to be focusing on Kenny Golladay, because you really don't have a number two receiver like Marvin. Your number two receiver, you have basically a lot of gadget guys. You have Marvin Hall, you have Jamal Agnew, and you have Amendola. The only guy that you have that can play on the outside is a rookie in Quintez Cephas, who's been active for multiple games, who's been inactive for multiple games. That's what you want to do. That's what you want to do. You need to win football games to save your job. You want to trade away your number two receiver because you want somewhat of compensation for what's basically a rental, and you're willing to throw out Quintez Cephas as your number two. Why would you do that? Like, what in the world would that, how would that make any sense? Now, I know what people are saying, well, you're not going to get anything anyways. He's just going to walk if you don't make a trade now. I get that completely. But for Matt Patricia, let's put our feet in Matt Patricia's shoes right here. Matt Patricia should be saying about Quinn, Bob, you're not doing this. You're not trading away Marvin Jones Jr. Unless we're going to get something in return, you're not making this happen. All right? That's what Matt Patricia's got to be thinking, because I can't afford for you to let me get rid of one of our top receivers right now. We need to win football games. I want to save my job. And it's cool if you get a 5th round pick or something in return, but we won't be here to make that pick if we're not a playoff contender. All right? That's not what the move is. The move is not get rid of talent. If anything, it's add talent. Now, if you're blown away and you get a second or third round pick for him, okay, now I understand. I don't think you're going to get that. ESPN put together basically a mock trade scenario where the Lions get a 6th round pick and a 7th round pick. If you walk back, Bob Quinn, with a 6th round pick, if you trade away Marvin Jones for a 6th round pick, I will lose it. I will lose it. That will make no sense. I would have no idea what you guys are doing. That would make no sense for your sake. I'm not even saying for my sake as a fan. For you guys, why would you make that trade? I'm looking out for you right now. That's not the move. That's not the move at all. I know you want something in return because you don't want to just let him walk, but I would rather have a rental that could potentially help me save my job than put the risk out there that, hey, yeah, we're going to throw a rookie at the number 2 receiver position and we're going to get rid of one of our most reliable receivers. Why would you take away talent from our offense? Now, I know the defense has been better, but for the most part, under Patricia, it's been pretty much a roller coaster. So what you're telling me is you would rather is that you want to get rid of one of our top weapons offensively, not knowing exactly what we're going to get from the defense week in and week out. We've seen 2 good weeks. Great. Let's build on it. You're going to get rid of one of your top receivers. Like I said, if you get a 2nd or 3rd, I can understand, but you're not going to get that. I don't think the Lions get that. I really don't see a team that gives them that big of a trade for a guy that's a rental for, 10 games, 9 games, right? A rental for 8 games, basically, at that point. You want a rental for 8 games, that's not even a number 1 receiver. Now, we know Marvin Jones Jr. said he was frustrated, but last game the Lions came out and they gave him a lot of opportunities and he played well. My thing is think about this for a second. As much as I hate to say it, knock on wood, what if Kenny Golladay goes down? What if Kenny Golladay gets COVID or something and you don't have Marvin? Now what are you rolling out in the field? Quintez Cephas, Marvin Hall, and Jamal Agnew and Danny Amendola. Hold up, that's what we're... No, that's not the move. That's my thoughts on the whole Marvin Jones Jr. situation. I'm not really for it unless you get some kind of big return. Who I think should be at the very top of the Lions' big board, but it's also probably super unlikely, is Stephon Gilmore. Now, I was trying to come up with some kind of crazy scenario as to where the Lions could potentially trade Marvin Jones Jr. because they're interested in him for Stephon Gilmore and also give them a draft pick. But the real big problem I have when I come up with this is, while it may potentially be possible, the big problem here is why would the Patriots be both? Because you can't really buy and sell. They'd basically be saying, okay, we're going to give up our top cornerback, but we're also going to try to be aggressive and bring in a receiver. Now, if they believe that they can handle their business without their top cornerback, because the Patriots have already came out and basically made it known that, look, he's probably not going to be part of the team next year anyway, so at this point, he's kind of a rental. And if we're going to get a draft pick, maybe a day 2 pick from the Lions, a 2nd or 3rd round pick, and Marvin Jones for the rest of the year, maybe we could be okay with that. Maybe they'd be interested in that. Now, the problem is Marvin Jones is on the final year of his deal, so you would have to extend him, which it's not impossible. I mean, you could potentially bring him back into the season. If the Patriots like him, they could re-sign him because, maybe they like him that much. I mean, he's not that old where he can't still play. So if the Lions were going to try to trade away Marvin Jones Jr., maybe you could somehow pull off some kind of ridiculous blockbuster trade where you get Stephon Gilmore, they get Marvin Jones, and I'm okay with bringing in Stephon Gilmore. But the problem here is, again, I just don't see the Patriots really doing both. So let's push away the Marvin Jones Jr. thing aside for a second. Let's first off talk about Stephon Gilmore. If the Detroit Lions were willing to trade for Stephon Gilmore, why would they do this? Well, there's definitely some pros and there's definitely some major cons. Let's start off with the cons first. The biggest reasons why this doesn't make sense. Number 1, they definitely already have a cornerback. This offseason, the Lions went out and signed Desmond Trufant. Once you sign Desmond Trufant to a 2-year, $20 million deal, it makes it very, very difficult to say, okay, now let's go trade for another veteran cornerback who has 2 years left on his deal. And he's also super, super expensive. I mean, those are the 2 major cons here, is your depth and also the price you're going to pay to bring him in. Because while you don't have to pay the final rest of all the money on the contract for the season, there's still a pretty good amount. And next year, it's $17 million. So you're probably going to keep him for those next 2 years. And with Desmond Trufant, I don't see you able to trade Desmond Trufant. I don't see anybody willing to trade for Desmond Trufant. So you're kind of stuck with both then Desmond Trufant and Stephon Gilmore. Unless after the season, you're willing to cut him and take on some dead money. Detroit Lions, I don't see anybody taking a Desmond Trufant trade. Now, that brings up a whole different scenario with someone who is interested in Desmond Trufant. Because you can trade away Trufant, honestly, which I don't think will happen because so far Zero hasn't played well. He's doing the injuries and the Falcons couldn't find a trade partner. But if you're asking basically nothing and someone really thinks that he could help, then yeah, I'd be okay with doing that and then bringing in Stephon Gilmore. I just don't see that happening. So those are the 2 biggest cons. You would have a lot of depth, and all of a sudden you have 2 veteran cornerbacks locked up. But the pros are this. Number 1, are you going to try to be competitive or not? All right. If you believe that you are maybe one major piece away from taking this team to the next level and you're looking for that superstar acquisition, there's no better option, in my opinion, than Stephon Gilmore. There's just no one out there. He's probably maybe the most talented player that's on the trade block. He would fit the team. He would come right in right away. He'd be perfect. Matt Patricia would love it. He was with Matt Patricia with the Patriots. He already signed a big deal with the Patriots. He knows how to play in this scheme. He's been successful in this scheme. He would come in day one. He would help your young cornerbacks in Jeffrey Okudah and Emmanuel Rarier. And while I know he hasn't had his best season so far, it's still, compared to the rest of the cornerbacks in the league, has been really good. He can cover tight ends, slot cornerbacks, and outside wide receivers, and he's only allowing about a 53% completion percentage with a 72 passer rating, and he has 1 interception. Those stats, as crazy maybe, are comparable to Amani's right now, as Amani is only allowing a 53% completion percentage, 13.8 yards per reception, and a 76 passer rating. So it's pretty crazy that Amani's doing that. I mean, I think we should give a round of applause. So again, the cons are here that, it would have a lot of depth. It'd be a money situation. But the good thing is the Lions do have the money. Bob Quinn has money if he wants to do it. He's also a former patron. That makes the Lions interested automatically. But at the other side, it's like, okay, who do you really want to take snaps away from? Now, if we're being honest, Desmond Trufant, we don't know what we're going to get out of Desmond Trufant. We just don't know what we're going to get. What we've expected coming into the season is not what we've gotten. And a lot of it has to do with injuries that are not in his power, which I think is, very unfortunate. But at the end of the day, you need to save your jobs. So if that means you think that you need to add a top talent to your defense, then I can't fault you for being interested in doing that and having a lot of depth. A lot of teams do it. Good teams do it. Rich get richer, right? They add a great talent to a piece that's already deep. Like, why are you doing that? Well, because one, you don't know when injury is going to happen. Now with the COVID stuff, it's even more. You have no idea what can happen, right? Just things could just pop up, and all of a sudden you're in a situation where, you need that depth. The Lions rely so much on that cornerback room that what would be the problem with adding one of the top cornerbacks? Another pro, like I said, he can play all over the field. Right now, we personally have no idea what we get from Desmond Trufant. And it's not only health-wise, it's also when he's on the field. When he's been on the field so far this year, he has been our worst cornerback. It's just simple as that. He's been our worst cornerback, aside from Tony McRae, to be honest. He just hasn't been good. So when he's on the field, he looks slow, he hasn't played well. And we don't know when he's going to be fielded. We don't even know if he's going to play this weekend. I mean, it's crazy. We don't know if he's going to play this weekend. Now, we're hoping Justin Coleman comes back, but even with the Coleman dealing with injuries, the thing is, Stephon Gilmore can line up and slot, line up on the outside, and cover tight ends, and he has the perfect size for Patricia's defense. He's a match made in heaven just as a player alone. The problem is the whole situation with having so many cornerbacks, and also the price tag that comes with him, and the draft capital that you would have to give up to bring him in. But he is locked up for another year, so you wouldn't have to get rid of him after this season. It wouldn't be a rental. I think alone, if you're doing a big board, he's number one on your big board. It's just there's a lot of things that the Lions would have to be, willing to deal with while bringing him in. But at the same time, there's never problems with him. He gets the job done. He's one of the top talents out there. And if you add him to the secondary, a defense that's recently been really good against the run because they're putting all these defensive linemen in, now all of a sudden you can more often stack the box. Think about our biggest threat in the NFC North right now. Let's be 100% honest. You build your team to beat the other NFC North teams, right? Our biggest threat right now in the North is the Packers. I know the Bears are a threat. I'm not saying they're not, but I'm also not saying that we can't beat them without making a trade. We could beat the Bears. I have confidence we can go beat the Bears when we play them again. But the Packers have one of the best offenses in the league. And if they're going to go add a receiver, which they might, with Devontae Adams and AJ Green and Jamison Crowder, whoever it may be, wouldn't it be nice to have Stephon Gilmore out there? Stephon Gilmore with Amani. Maybe take a little of Okudah's roll back a little bit. It's always good to have depth because they're still your future. It's just another mentor to add to that. Justin Coleman in the slot. Whoa, that would be a pretty nice cornerback group. So he's number one on my big board, no question about it. I think it would just be kind of difficult to make the trade happen. Everybody, so I'm hopping back in here to do the outro because, I don't have an outro for this. But I didn't notice my picture fell down. I'm sorry. That picture, I got to get some tape or something for that. I don't know. Either way, I'm hopping out of here. I want to let you guys know, if you have watched to this point, thank you. Comment down below. Sausage. I'm sorry. It's not supposed to be weird. Just comment sausage if you made it this far. And also, not only comment sausage, but I'm going to be making my big board for the NFL trade deadline for the Detroit Lions. I'm currently working on it. It's going to take a very long time. So that's why I'm putting this video out first, kind of as like a little bit of a prequel. But we will be doing my full NFL trade deadline big board, okay? So we'll run through that in my next video. But yeah, I appreciate all of you guys stopping in. Thank you, Prop, for watching. And I'm out. Are you kidding me right now? I had to put my helmet on for this one. Are you kidding? Look at this. Look at all these members. What? Yo, hey, shout out to all the members, man. Look how many All-Pro members there are. Like, literally, it's the whole screen, dog. This is crazy. The patrons, Of course, the Hall of Fame members, man. Y'all got the gold color. It's kind of yellow, but it's supposed to be gold. Shout out to all the members, man. If you want to be a part of this, all you got to do is join the channel. But there are perks that come with it. Stay locked in the community tab if you are a member, because that's where a lot of information comes out. I appreciate all of you. What?